powerful and varied. It changes as per the child's need and as per the mother's health. So in all, it also protects the child, and hence by no means breast milk can be duplicated. And for the very basic advantages that breast milk doesn't require any preparation. It is just fresh and warm and natural, and you can feed your child anytime, anywhere, be it day or night. So it has got several health effects to the health of mother and child during their whole lifetime. Next slide, please. Yes, so there are numerous benefits of breastfeeding for the baby. Since breastfeeding is in itself a complete meal, a balanced meal, it protects the child from future obesity and malnourishment, and it is full of immunity providing substances, because the child gets ready-made antibodies from the mother, and because of these antibodies the immunity is stronger. There are reduced risk of asthma and allergies and fever trips to doctors, very genuinely. Breastfeeding also makes the child less susceptible to certain infections like diarrhea, ear infections, respiratory illnesses. It also reduces the risk of sudden infant death syndrome as well as childhood leukemia. Leukemia is a blood cancer. Breastfeeding also helps in proper jaw development of the newborn. And not just this, but breastfeeding increases bonding and feeling of security, for it gives the child a sense of security, as there is much more expression of love from the mother, and hence it is a very useful aid for developing a good psychological and emotional well-being of the mother and child. Next slide, please. Yes, according to researchers, the children who are breastfed are far more intelligent than the children who are not breastfed. It is said that at the age of 7 to 8 years, children who are breastfed for at least 8 months had verbal IQ better by 6 points and performance IQ better by 4 points than the children who weren't at least breastfed for 8 months. So we see how a great impact is on the intelligence quotient of the child if the child is breastfed. Next slide, please. Now, not just the baby, but the mother also gets benefited. And out of this benefits, the mother is motivated to breastfeed a child. The very big advantage is weight reduction. And I think by far, weight reduction is the foremost concern after delivery. So here it gets solved. When a mother breastfeeds a child, it is estimated that 300 to 600 calories per day are lost when she breastfeeds a child. So yes, weight is reduced. Then while breastfeeding, after delivery, there is a lot of blood that comes out, and through breastfeeding that blood can be stopped, and hence it helps in combating anemia. Then breastfeeding lowers the risk of breast and ovarian cancer and osteoporosis. So in postmenopausal period, the chances of osteoporosis is very high. Osteoporosis is a condition in which the calcium is lost from the bones, making the bones brittle and weak. But if the mother breastfeeds a child, it strengthens our bones and reduces the risk and severity of osteoporosis in future. So in all, breastfeeding protects the mother from osteoporotic fractures if it happens in future. And one more point, that breastfeeding saves extra expenditure, because you are not spending much money on bottle feeding the child by powdered milk. Next slide, please. Not just the mother and the child, but a society as a whole gets benefited. Let's see how. Since we talked about as breastfeeding increases immunity, so there is reduced illnesses, and then again reduced trips to doctors. So this way, with better health, there is reduction in the infant mortality rate. First advantage. And then second, breastfeeding serves as a natural contraceptive method. It has got 98% efficiency, so it controls population as well. Breastfeed saves money as well, because in the production of tins, bottles, and fuel in factories, then waste removal, then waste management, all these processes, so much of money is wasted. Breastfeeding saves time, since to prepare formula milk, a lot of time is wasted. So breastfeeding is so natural that you don't have to put in so much of efforts and time, so it saves time. It's eco-friendly, since there is no no, you don't have to make something. There is no waste production, there is no waste management, there is no smoke, there is no noise. So in all, so many kinds of pollution are prevented, and thus it proves out to be very eco-friendly. And it is estimated that one lactating mother produces 346 liters milk in her lactating period, which is again equal to a savings of about 5% of a small country's GDP. So we all can imagine how much just one lactating woman can save for herself. And at one time, it's not just one lactating woman, but so many women who are lactating, and they can save so much amount of money. Next slide, please. Okay, with this we come up how environmentally and economically breastfeeding is very friendly. Breastfeeding is go natural thing, we know that. Now we'll see how it is environmentally and economically friendly. To prepare powdered milk, big grasslands are to be spared for the rearing of animals, and for the rearing of animals, and in which a lot of water is also lost since in creating that space. Then to maintain those grasslands, a lot of fodder is required, lot of water is required. So in all these processes, lot of resources are already depleted. Then comes the factories work, like for example, for the production of powdered milk, for manufacturing tins, bottles, glass bottles or plastic bottles in which milk will be filled, and then packaging it. So in all these processes, a lot of energy is required. And not just this, then it the plastic or glass bottles add to the waste production also. And to get rid of that waste production, you again require energy. And then ultimately, the powdered milk which is prepared has to be transported to the consumers, right? In that transportation, we know a lot of fuel, lot of energy is wasted, and which is leading to many kinds of pollution. It is also been estimated that for preparing milk powder, a lot of water is also wasted. Let's see how. 1 kg production needs 4,000 liter of water. So if you want to prepare 1 kg of powdered milk, you need at least 4,000 liters of water. And 1 kg production of powdered milk releases 20 kg CO2 equivalent greenhouse gases. And we all know how much greenhouse gases are a matter of concern. It is already excess, and leading to global warming. Since past 8 lakh years, Earth right now has the highest level of greenhouse gases, which is a great matter of concern, and we have to address it. And therefore, the theme for breastfeeding promotion is also says support breastfeeding for a healthier planet. So we see how by breastfeeding your child, you are benefiting the whole environment, our whole planet. Next slide, please. Powder and bottles business, no doubt it is a very huge blooming business, powder and bottles business, but at the cost of the health of mother and child. There is unethical marketing, unethical ways of promoting powdered milk through advertisements, in which they state that since it is a ready-made milk, it is full of nutrients, and by listening to them, people get misdirected from their side, and they forget about the importance of breastfeeding. And in all these processes, doctors, medical professionals, mothers, dietitians or paramedical officials are also involved. The sellers may give them free samples or gifts or any kind of favor, and when they promote it, people listen to them. So we have to be aware of this. And there's a law named infant milk substitutes, IMS, which states that which bans the promotion of formula milk, and also the sponsorship to healthcare professionals and healthcare organization from uh, infant formula companies. So but since even after this law, there are many undercover practices going on, and this is unethically being practiced now as well. So we have to take care of these things as well. Next slide, please. Yes, we all are aware of the human rights. So, to address the issue of breastfeeding, there are human rights which states that every child has a right to obtain his highest level of health through breastfeeding, and every mother has the right to breastfeed a child anytime, anywhere. And for us, it's our responsibility as a society, as its member, that we don't have to make it very shameful or very uncomfortable for the mother to breastfeed a child. Rather, we have to help in promoting and supporting the breastfeeding, because we know how much it is important and necessary. Next slide, please. Then yes, their rights were employed. As we all know, maximum problems are being faced by working women to breastfeed their child. So there is an organization, ILO, International Labour Organization, to address this issue, according to which a mother, after a delivery, she gets a leave of 6 months, and father gets a leave of 15 days. The first 15 days being very crucial for the child's health, and as well as the first 6 months for the breastfeeding of the child. So in this period of leave, a mother can breastfeed their child exclusively. What do we mean by exclusive breastfeeding? Exclusive breastfeeding means only and only mother's milk to be given to the child, not even water, which is very important. So in this period of leave, mother can take full care of her child, and there is full safety of job and post. They will be paid the same amount as they were being paid before. So there is no fear of losing the job or post. You should know these rights, and you can demand for these rights. And when the mother returns to her corporate sector, she can even demand of having a crèche in her corporate sector. So the child can be dropped in the crèche until the woman works in the sector, and there are professionals, there are employees who will take care of the child in the crèche. So we should know about these rights, and we can ask for their implementation as well. Next slide, please. So, according to WABA, UNICEF, WHO, 2007 census, initiating breastfeeding in first hour saves 10 lakh children. So, it is research that if a newborn is not breastfed within first 24 hours, the risk of death increases by 2.5 times. It also states that if a newborn is breastfed any foodstuff apart from breast milk within first month, that is in his neonatal stage, then the risk of death increases by 4 times. So we can imagine not breastfeeding the child within first hour, or giving anything apart from breast milk within the first month, how much there is risk of death. Then it states that if the infant is breastfed initially in the first hour, then the reduction is by 22% in a mortality rate. So this has got a lot of advantage as well, and through this research we can take action. Next slide, please. Okay, so now the question arises, initiation of breastfeeding is fine, but when and how? So it states that within first hour on the delivery table, breastfeeding has to be initiated. There has to be a skin to skin contact between mother and child without anything in between, not even clothes. Breastfeeding has to be initiated before bathing the child. And even if the delivery is cesarean, then breastfeeding has to be initiated within first hour for the child's benefit. Next slide, please. Now the further question will be, why initiate in the first hour? Like, why there is so much of stress being laid that the breastfeeding should be started in the first hour? Why, right? So the child, when he's born, he requires mother's immediate love and warmth, and just after the delivery, the temperature of the breast increases by a half degree Celsius within 2 to 5 minutes. So which is very essential for the child, especially for weak and preterm babies. There is also saying that it reduces the stress of birth in the newborn, and breastfeeding initiates the process of breathing, the process of heart rate, other metabolic processes as well in the child. So breastfeeding is a good kick to start all the processes in child's body. Then when the child is comes out of the mother's womb, he is sterile, but the sooner he comes out of the mother's womb, there are colonies of bacteria or microorganisms which are ready to attack the child. But child has to be colonized by mother's friendly bacteria for the child's protection. So therefore it is very important that soon after birth, breastfeeding has to be initiated with a skin to skin contact between with the mother and mother, so that mother's friendly bacteria can protect the child. Now, since the child has come, he has to be welcomed, right? So child is welcomed by giving him a drink, and that drink is mother's milk. And if the drink is very healthy, then it's a more glorious welcome. So there's the milk initially that comes out of the breast is known as colostrum. It's a yellow thick fluid milk and known as the golden welcome gift. But oftentimes people misinterpret it as waste because of its color. But no, this is very nutritious and very actually the essence of all the breast milk. And you'll learn about colostrum in the further slides. So colostrum, the initial milk, has to be immediately given to the child for the child's good health. Then stress reduction in mother. When breastfeeding is initiated by the release of hormone oxytocin. Oxytocin is also known as fountain of love, and it's a stress busting hormone. So when a mother breastfeeds a child, this hormone is excreted, and which reduces the level of stress in the mother. So there are many benefits as to why to start initiating the breastfeeding within first hour. I hope I made you understand the importance, the necessity, the speciality of breastfeeding. Now, the further presentation will be presented by my fellow colleague Sonakshi. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Sonakshi, you may
Srishti.
proceed. Yeah.
Thank you, Srishti, for such a wonderful information. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are great and having a healthy body and mind. Myself, Sonakshi Mittal, student of final year BSc FSN from Shetpiti Mahila College, Surat. I hope now you get the importance of breast milk and its benefits and uniqueness. Can you now think to give the child other thing other than milk? Just because you may feel that the child is thirsty or may not full, the answer is milk. Milk has all the nutritional requirements that an infant needs in the first initial 6 months of complete breastfeeding. As my fellow colleague Shrishti said, that colostrum being the golden welcome drink, I agree to it, as it is the first vaccine naturally given to the child. Colostrum, colostrum is the thick yellow secretion which is secreted in the initial days. People may not use it owing to its yellow color, but it is the life-saving drink for the child. It is rich in vitamin A and also has growth factors, maintaining the normal growth and prevents from neonatal jaundice as it has stomach cleansing properties. Next slide, ma'am, please. There are statistics explaining about the ritual of feeding prelactals to the infant just after their birth. What are prelactals, you may ask? Prelactals are the feeds given to the infants before milk. Just after their birth, people have the ritual of feeding them with distilled water, boiled water, tea, janam gutti, or anything other than milk. But nothing except to be milk to be given to the child. Why? The reason would be the child is just born from a protective environment, and feeding it with outside food may welcome a lot of contamination and bacteria to it. Whereas mother's milk is pure, natural, untouched, and it is the best option for the child. Next slide, ma'am, please. Now you would ask that there would be a stomach ache or any digestive issues with the child. People suggest to give gripe water, bonicin, balagoli, digestive drops, appetizer drops. But let me clear that nothing other than milk can improve a child's health. Until 6 months of age, nothing except breast milk. Next slide, ma'am. You may wonder that how can alone a breast milk fulfill all the nutritional requirements? So the milk changes its secretions according to the need of child. Colostrum, fore milk, and hind milk. Colostrum, as I said earlier, that it gives protection to the child from various infections and diseases. It is secreted only in the initial days of breastfeeding. Fore milk. It is the light milk, which has the property of quenching the thirst of babies. Now, I think you would get your answer that why only milk is recommended, not even the water. It is also rich in lactose and proteins, but lacks in fats and calories. But not to worry, because hind milk comes in place, which is thicker than fore milk and has fats and calories for development of the growth. Overall, milk can fulfill all the nutritional requirements until 6 months. Next slide, ma'am. Have you heard anyone telling you about the positions that uh, there are certain positions through which you can feed the baby? There may be cradle position, cross cradle, football positions, football hold. There is also a myth saying that if mother feeds the child in laying position, that may be harmful for the child. But as said, it is a myth. The only matter concerns here is the comfortable position for child and the mother. She should feel, she should not feel stressed, strained, or have a backache. It should be a satisfying process for mother and child. Next slide, ma'am. As we are saying that we should breastfeed completely until 6 months, you would ask, after 6 months, should we stop or continue? The answer is yes, complete breastfeeding till 6 months, and after that, weaning food or supplementary food should be given. As after the 6 months, the child require